My guess is that down at the Johnson Space Center, they're talking about a lot of other conceivable things that caused this awful accident to happen.
Senator Schmidt, you know how careful NASA is about trying to maintain safety, and nobody doubts that all the usual controls were in place, but there has been concern in recent years that NASA's been getting shorted on its budget, and therefore people are getting burned out. What is your sense of the state of play right now within NASA?
There probably has been some of that problem of budgetary shortfalls, and as a result of some staffing shortfalls, but there's also continues to be in NASA, based on everything that I've seen and heard, an extraordinarily high level of motivation to make sure that everything goes right and everything is done right. It is clear, though, that for some time it's been clear that additional monies need to be available to maintain the shuttle fleet and now the remaining shuttle fleet for a significant period of time, even with an acceleration of an effort to build a replacement. Whatever that path that might take, you're going to be dependent on the shuttle. And that's another reason why you can't stand down for very long. You have obligations in space, international obligations, as well as obligations to continue the research and the exploration of that remarkable arena, and you just can't stand down. We're going to have to get those other shuttles up and operating very soon and have confidence in their ability to perform.
Mr. Turley, I think he was referring to the fact that we've got 2 astronauts and a cosmonaut aboard the International Space Station. They've got enough supplies to last until the end of June. But it's pretty clear NASA wants to make sure that it is a shuttle that goes and retrieves them rather than using a Soyuz escape vehicle. Do you really think, based on your experience, that it is at all practical to think about turning the space program around and the shuttle investigation around in that short a time period?
It's going to be a real challenge, but the first thing to do is to do the investigation and find out the root cause. The situation back in the 80s was quite different than this one. When the Challenger was lost, people forget that in a period of 6 months, the nation lost 2 Titan 3s, Titan 34Ds, a Delta, an Atlas, and the Space Shuttle. We simply are in a different situation now with the station on orbit, but the first job is to find the root cause and in parallel have a strategy to get back to flight, as Senator Schmidt said, as quickly as is safe and prudent and reasonable.
Senator Schmidt, you and Eugene Cernan were the last 2 men on the moon. A lot of people think that one of the problems right now is that the space program no longer thinks big. On Fox News Sunday today, I had a couple of people saying, what we need to do now is to put people back on the moon and aim for Mars. Do you agree?
Well, I think the space program does think big. I think the fact that we're flying in space routinely, that we have an international space station, are very, very big thoughts. In addition, there are people all over the country and indeed all over the world who are thinking very big about our future in space. And I think one of the big questions is how much of that future is going to be guided fully by government, or how much of it is going to be under the guidance of the commercial sector in cooperation with government. We just don't know the answers to those kind of questions at this time. But I have no doubt that our future in deep space is assured, and that we are going to return to the moon, harvest its resources, some of which can be very important to us for energy here on Earth, and using that particular capitalization of new technologies, go on to Mars fairly quickly.
Mr. Truly, a lot of people are struck by the heroism or the risks that people take when they go into space. I think it's safe to say that people have taken it for granted. It's been 17 years since the Challenger accident. Suddenly, people get it again. Is this one of those moments where suddenly people can rekindle a passion for space exploration that seems to have waned, at least among members of the American public in recent years?
It is one of those moments when people remember that space is a risky, risky business. But you know, decades ago, across many presidents ago and many Congresses ago, this nation gave NASA the mission of exploring. And it's a risky business. I hear people talk about the shuttle being routine. Well, believe me, I don't know. I don't believe they're talking to the people who fly it or the people in Houston who direct it. It's a risky business, but the reason it's worth taking that risk is for the achievement that's on the other side of it. Yesterday was an awful day, And it's just one of those few days in the space program that we all grieve, but it's time to find out what happened and get flying again, because we're not going to quit.
All right, Senator Schmidt, why did you get into the space business?
Well, I got in almost by accident. Suddenly there was an opportunity to volunteer to be one of the first scientist astronauts, and I thought about 10 seconds and raised my hand and volunteered, not really knowing everything I was getting into. But very quickly I became embedded and embroiled in the whole Apollo effort. Felt that it was extraordinarily important for the country to move forward, as John Kennedy had challenged us to do. And if and when I had a chance to fly in space, that was even better.
Okay, Senator Harrison, Schmidt, Richard, Truly, I want to thank you both for joining us today. Again, two veterans of the space program. These guys know what they're talking about.